Hi, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well, or as well as you can. We have a few questions. The first one is from Mary Lou Mangion. It says, I have noticed that, my memories are full of emotion, and the stories that I tell about these memories are also full of emotion. Would you please comment on these observations? I'll do the best I can on that one. Memories are quite impressive when we're dealing with them. Not so much when we're just fleetingly remembering a story we've told before so much, although it can happen with that. But it's as if there are many, many layers of experience within our landscape, our personality landscape. Some are physical, some are emotional, some are kind of semi-mental at best. And these lines of reference, or memory lines, or memory pockets of experience, are usually there in relationship to the amount of intensity or emotion, one could say, or physical engagement we've had, or responses that we've had to them in our lives. And when we tell a story sometimes we tell it from this area here, more like using words. And other times we tell them, and we start to tell them, and suddenly it's our emotional disposition that is expressing them. Don't listen as much to other people's voices when they're telling them, because they can fake intensity. It's really easy. It's like an actor or an actress. Listen to your own. You will feel the emotion inside you when you're connecting to one of those pockets or lines of reference that relate to a particular experience in a timeline. When you were 10, when you were 8, when you were 25, 15, whatever it happens to be. And those intensities are linked to a kind of emotional memory, a recall. But if it's a line that relates to something that has bothered you, or you wish it had been some other way, you unfortunately or fortunately go right down through time. It's as if time doesn't even exist. And you engage with the pocket, literally, that has occurred at that time. Then you have a natural reaction to that line of reference in your physical body, or in your practiced expression of it. Now that means, for example, if you had one kind of reaction, that kind of reaction or pattern will be underlined in a kind of personality memory that relates to the substance of how you see yourself functioning as a human being. It's amazing how that works that way for all of us. And of course, in a kind of a strange way, remember that sometimes reactions to that pocket just seep up through time and engage with us when we're watching somebody else engage with life, and something that is occurring within them will touch us and there will be a reflexive reaction and a pull into this timeline of an uncomfortable moment or a very comfortable moment as well. This is a very, very normal thing in our lives, but we don't get to talk about those details or even figure them out. And of course, one could say this is all supposition. And of course, it might be or it might not be. Take a look at those things that occur and see how they touch you and see how you render them valuable or not valuable, and how it may touch you and hurt you, or touch you and the emotion is, or the tears if you have them, or if you don't have them, the surge of rigidity to help you to be preserve yourself and help yourself not to be too entangled with tears. Then you entangle with the intensity or rigidity of some form of defensive structure that was very often not able to be expressed in that timeline. Words and memories are wrapped and utilized in the memory process with emotion. Think about that. We often think of the synapses, of course, which are very physically focused. Of course, they're not necessarily physically focused. They're intensity focused. Strange to say that. If you have a thought and you think a lot about it and you think that that's really important to think about that particular thing, you remember it better. It's wrapped with that intensity or emotional flow, narrowed down into a specific so that you can have a recall. You don't do that for a recall unless you're studying in some kind of way, but you do it for a reflex to help you to maintain a view of some kind that is extremely important in a moment. And this happens all through our lives. It's not only, doesn't only happen to one person, it happens to everybody. Thinking about that in a non-judgmental way might be helpful. Understanding it and recognizing that it is a human event might help you to realize that there's no punishment involved with this or no elevation necessary because you happen to be that way. But the personality can protect it or you in a particular manner that underlines at least the recognition of a discomfort. And being uncomfortable, of course, creates another time or another emotional moment where it is uncomfortable in you. And if you, 10 years down the road, run into something similar, it even could be a television program, and suddenly you're taking a couple of breaths really fast, and you can't understand why that happened because that's on TV, for heaven's sake. It's not real, but it's a projection or a line link, an emotional link with another part of your life. Movies actually depend on this occurring, and they try to get you to respond relative to those experiential time zones that are like a little layer of emotion. And of course, you can say something similar to an experience, another way to say it. And therefore, you have that particular experience. You say, oh my gosh, that movie was really good because it really affected me. And actors, by the way, spend their time learning how to do that. In other words, how to be another person, another character. And they get quite good at that. We do the same thing, and we're not actors. We don't know that we're doing the same thing, but we do it anyway because it is a manner, a way of engaging with the world. And we don't watch every tiny little thing. And we're not able to because often reflexes and patterns play out without our even needing to practice them. But we have practiced many of them, or we have watched others practicing. This is the dilemma when you're dealing with how people live on this planet, how you function. You're actually watching you act in a way that others act, but you don't notice it. And it's not something that you would want to notice because you would rather think that you're the only one that does this kind of thing, whatever it is that you do, of course, and of course you're not. But you don't realize this is part of the human condition. And we do many, many things so we can attempt to just survive. And they're then judged by either us or others to be this way or that way. And that judgment is affected by how they are and how they believe things in a perfect person should be. And this is just natural in our world. So this question is a very important question, but not often thought about. It could be thought about clinically, but not often in how that might occur in an individual's timeline. I happen to see that as you're watching from the time that you're in the womb, and you're in fact engaging with the tones and sounds. I often find it very fascinating that the child in the womb almost looks like a curved ear. I always thought that was really strange. But in fact, the whole body and skin and response system is activated literally by tones and responses, emotional responses by both male and female involved in the family that they're involved with, or tones that are expressed unknowingly. Nobody can express their lives perfectly, whether you think you can or not. And so the parental background really at that particular moment is quite very much involved with training the child to be like others who are in the family background. Of course, this is, you all know, and you've probably thought about this so many times and being a little bit nervous about it if you've had children. It's part of the training that a lad or a gal gets in the womb that starts them off in the preparation, eventually, as they can really perceive these tones touching them, like a drum almost, because they're in fluid. So that tone becomes a natural way to feel comforted in the womb. Getting out then that same thing occurs. They are literally copying how other people function now physically. The tones are similar to what it's been like in the womb for a bit of a time, and they look for those tunes and tones. There are effects. They are just like if you hear in a rhythm that you really like, then you're attentive. If you hear a music that you really like, you're attentive. It has an effect on you. Music is not only music. You can be around a house that hardly a word is spoken, but there is an overriding tone related to the non-speaking. There is a way of also hearing things that is very protective of an individual growing, because they need that protection. We all have this. And that is difficult for us sometimes. And in this particular case, emotion is the source of this, and often reactions to emotion are also related to the source of how you identify and interpret those tones. Interpretation is a very, very important thing in our lives. And our identities are built on interpretation, often, most often. If you can think about that, then you identify and interpret whatever it is you are seeing or perceiving internally, still related to how you were brought up. It's the nature of how things work. And remember, if that idea makes sense to you in your thinking, linking lines of force are involved with our sensory system, literally as we are engaged with other lines of force, whether it be TV or people, we automatically are engaged with how we make sense of things, for the purpose of being, in a kind of a way, valuable in our own sense of engagement with life. Not always easy to make sense of, or not always interesting to pay attention to. Because if you were going to pay attention to it 24/7, you would have no time to do anything else. So that's why there seems to be a kind of fail-safe mechanism involved with handling emotion. You engage with emotion, you handle it, you identify it, you try to make sense of it, and realize that it goes on all the time. And you're always trying to make sense of things. Increased energy engaging with you at these levels, and you watch that a little bit more because you're a little bit more sensitive to it. The difficulty is the sensate engagement or response that you have internally also has the same interpretation as you need to have or needed to have in a family background. Most of us were not loved in a perfect manner. Therefore, we cannot love in a perfect manner. Therefore, we don't know what a perfect manner of loving is. That's pretty straight logic, not straightforward, but straight logic. there's a little other thing that goes on. Things are a little dicey in there in the translation part. We have to act in a certain way that we have cultivated to make us feel at least a little content with being valued in terms of how we act and how we engage with others. The dilemma is, the more we love, the more we emphasize the need to have love coming at us similar to our parental background or our family backgrounds, whatever that might mean. I would like to have you think about that one. Don't necessarily take it on, but think it through. See if it makes sense to you. It's not a statement to make you think your methods are all bad. No, it's more, holy smokes, that's how I and why I do that. Oh. And I've been practicing that for a number of years. So it's not going to disappear in a week or two just because I saw it. That's delusional. But I can soften that down a little bit from time to time. Or at least I can learn how to see it better and realize that anybody would have a difficult time switching that like so. And you can't switch it like so. And you've got to give yourself a little bit of a leeway there. Allow yourself to say that. Nobody can switch something unless they really are determined that they've already switched it and they're living in a world that's not real. Those things come back. If you don't want to see them coming back, that can be a dilemma. Because human beings are ill-equipped to soften down too quickly. What's that mean? To change a pattern that's been a pattern and has had a purpose that we have fallen in love with without even knowing that. We're complicated beings. Emotion is a tremendous force. Whatever we can push and engage with through intensity is not as strong as the emotion that we use to do it. That's worth a thought or two. So what I'm really saying is emotion can make you very vulnerable if you see it in a place where you couldn't see it before. That vulnerability will be assessed by you based on your background. Learning how to soften down that assessment is very important. Because on the whole, people are good people. They just get directed in different directions and have different ideas and options. And they think that those are just as valuable as anybody else's. That's a dilemma with these planes. We're youngish, no matter what the age is. So emotions will move through. If a small shock occurs or a big shock occurs, emotion will flow through from those areas where that kind of intensity has occurred previously. and they leave a little vacuous space where that moment is kind of remembered. That sounds really strange. And those levels are aspects of what I often call interspaces. Not only those spaces in between lives, if you believe in that, or other lives. And truly, what we don't understand is to shift a response is not to deface you, but to move forward in some kind of small incremental way. And if you can understand that incremental means every little bit at a time, as opposed to you have accomplished great things. We would rather have accomplished great things than only little things. But the little things stick. The great things are illusory. It's like just fluff on the surface. It goes, and then you flip back into how you were before. I would use personally energy on that the best I could, knowing full well that I'm asking a different kind of energy to move into those little vacuous spaces that would help me not to have that reflex occur all the time or sneak in inappropriately just because we're desperately afraid, and we are, of not being treated perfectly. And we aren't treated perfectly because there's no such thing. No other person knows another person that well. They're still effectively knowing that person as they are, as the individual themselves has been trained. So we look at that, what a person does through our own training. I know there are lots of folks out there that know full well that they know exactly how that person should be seen. It's not true, but it doesn't matter. That encourages that person to feel comfortable within themselves because it's similar to the background of family orientation. This is very difficult for us, Mary Lou, in every instance. So slowly engage with these things and say, that touches me in a place, you can say your own words, in a place that makes me feel a tiny bit uncomfortable. And it may be the tears you can never give out before. It may be the emotions that you were trained not to give because it would not augur well in the performance indicators of your family background. We all have a few of those. So recognize that this is a human trait. So many people think they want to be extra special, not human. You can be very helpful and still a human being. Recognize that some of those emotions are loving. Loving that we're afraid of giving, and loving that we're afraid of receiving. Because if we do receive it, it will deter us from having a family background, resonance in behind how we function. I think that this is, I'm going to say it and I apologize in advance, true for almost everyone on the planet. The sense of loving is often acted, not felt. Better it be acted. At least it's a kind of a search for the reality of loving. Some people will disagree with that. Some people won't. Some people will give it no thought whatsoever. All of those renderings are human. Thank you very much for that question. It's a doozy. And it's depending on how you answer it, of course, and how you experience it. So I wish you well. And we have another question. This one's from Carol Corbet in Ottawa. And I know this has been on Carol's mind for a while. Can you talk about the Elder Major and the role as one of the centers? Oh boy. You can read some information about this particular so-called center. I see it as a large number of small little centers working together for a purpose, starting in relationship to the throat center. And as you know, I've talked about the throat center and how the East Indian background has focused on it for quite some time, still are, and I can understand why. And the why of it is that the root gonad and emotional centers link up with that throat center and try and soften. At first, with the throat center, it's recognized as a very important center related to the expression of an individual's engagement with life. What the heck does that mean? Well, it means something like this. Primarily, our willfulness, which is important in our world, utilized by the joining of that root gonad center primarily, but also with the fusion of that emotional oomph that relates to the need that we have been talking about in the last question, to engage with life. And the will is focused on these levels of planes initially. And the intensity needed to engage with various things, very physical, is also engaged on these planes. So the focus has been on, especially in meditation, these two fingers, gonad center right down into here, and the touching of the finger, the throat center, and the root gonad centers. And I have always said, release the pressure from those fingers and feel the energy cut across the gaps. Get focused on that and open your hands. And you'll begin to recognize there is a gap there, and there is energy jumping across that gap. Takes a little while to recognize that, but it's real. So anyway, that means you're bringing to bear an energy from the personality form. That's how we engage here on these planes with this thing we call personality. Bringing that energy into this throat center and trying to get it out of reflexive dormancy. Reflexive dormancy. Getting it out of that. Now, what does that mean? You've got to ask these questions. It means it will open reflexively and engage with the lower centers to help you do whatever it is you need to do on these planes. But it will be fed by the root gonad and solar plexus. Well, the Hindus knew this. And the Buddhists kind of knew that too. And they realized that if it comes out of that early structure, which is reflexive, because the throat can open reflexively as energy comes up. Yeah. When it opens, it begins to feed energy up around the back, around the ears, towards the area here at the temples, and around into the area here in the brow to bring the brow into a place where it can be less involved with reflexive responses from the lower system. We have a long way to go in this stuff. We don't know this stuff. As it comes out of reflexive dormancy, as they all are in, from the root gonad solar plexus center, and most of the time not the solar plexus, but an aspect of it, what begins to occur is you get into creative aspects. If it's in science, you're interested in theoretical science like crazy. Like many of us just find that stuff really fascinating. Maybe we don't have physics, a PhD or an MA or even a BA in physics, but we find it fascinating. It alerts, that energy alerts an activity that moves around and stimulates the Abhangada area, this area around here at the lower part of the skull. And it constructs a system back and upward towards helping the brow, the crown open and the brow behind the back. That's early stages. And that's, man, that is not where most people are. But there is that reflexive stimulation to bring the actual opening of a center on its own as a major center. What the heck does that mean? Well, you could say your root center is a major center relative to the personality. You could say perhaps your gonad center is a major center, opened at least relative to these planes. In other words, your will is really focused on you and your personality being okay and functional and even better and the best. This is the kind of personality thing that nations are involved with and people are involved with. Not negative, just where we are. Tremendous opening in the solar plexus can also occur. It takes a little while to get used to that one. But what that does is surround you with energy that you can use for your personality all around you. They call it all kinds of names, aura, flush of flow, a whole bunch of stuff. Anyway, and it can be like an avalanche of flow, depending on your intensity and how you tend to use it for these planes or other planes. Emotional identification, personal identification, focus, value, right here. Don't think about that as negative. Think about that as pretty close to physical. And that is where we are. But you asked about the Alta Major. But you can't talk about the Alta Major until something happens in the throat area, where you suddenly begin to realize that you're looking at the world and you're not judging it as much. You're realizing that the world is young and learning, and it doesn't learn easily, and either do we. We like the sound of us being really important. Upside down thought, when the throat starts opening and it opens up in behind to link up not only with the brow and the crown, but with another state, that state is related to a higher state. Okay, what the heck does that mean? Okay, let's say the throat opens, right? And we're catching a lot of stuff. Not in others only, in ourselves. And slowly beginning to realize that as that throat opens, it sends energy down to the chest. Already, those three very profound centers that we have for these planes are focusing in a part of that chest too, but we feel it every now and then, and we can be empathetic to some degree, as long as our way of seeing things allows that empathy to be reasonably credible, or we can fake it. Every now and then, it just shows up. And even when we don't want to, that relates to something else occurring. It means the heart center is starting to open to a degree that it doesn't have to agree with the personality. Well, how is that possible? Here's why. The throat center has begun to open even a crack. You have insights, one could say. And of course, every insight you have has to be right? Because it's you that's having it. No, it doesn't. It's a whole level of engagements with insights that are preparatory. Getting you to the stage where you can allow yourself not to necessarily agree with yourself just because you're having this insight. That takes a long time. Because it bothers you if you're not just perfectly right. Because that's part of your comfortable value system. That's normal, by the way. That's not bad, good, or anything else, or right for that matter. But here's this throat center. It opens, starts shifting energy downward. Yeah, it will affect the upper part of the chest. It will open it just a speck. And when that starts happening, you can be in a little bit of trouble. A heart center will see through your fakery. No, you're acting when you don't even see it. That's real. it will make you think that you don't have any emotion because it's busy opening up. It's taking a lot of the energy that you use on being validated and putting it there just until it starts opening a little bit more. Lots of people, I think I've said this before, especially around 1973 or so, were quitting meditation, quitting prayer, quitting engaging with spiritual stuff that was helpful. And they began leaning on other things that made them feel better, comforted them, made them feel like as if they were important. Many of them, almost most, but many, went back into the matter focus and got jobs, had families, had kids, and sent them to university. And then in the 80s, 90s, the 90s especially, the end of them, all of a sudden they start reconsidering the possibility of getting back into where they were before. Because they had some time in their hands. And then they became shocked that if they did that, they were right back where they were before. And they were nervous, even then, about growing. Now, you may think, since it wasn't you I'm talking to, and I'm talking about, that wouldn't happen to you. It happens to everybody. That's a natural thing. You fear the thing that could be helpful to you. Try that on for size. Don't agree with that if you don't really think about that statement. Try it on for size. That throat center slowly begins to stimulate the shoulders, just a little bit. I won't tell you how it does it. And it begins to engage with you in a way that starts stimulating those small, tiny little interactions with a kind of a pathway that moves up to try and help the crown to open and the brow to open even more and to link up together. Those three centers coming together. And that takes a long time to have happen because it throws you into a different world. And that world is not the same as we believe things should be like as you become more open, more spiritual. That's a dilemma because little things happen that don't fit into how we have defined what things should be like. And it's okay. And I think that's a little farther ahead than most can understand. And I say that with all due respect to anyone's great capacity intellectually to understand it. The understanding I'm talking about is the experience of it. And the realization that the link-up includes the depersonalization of verbal expression. And that's not something any of us want too quickly. A higher state can actually operate through your mouth. That's something that has been known by Hindus and Buddhists and Taoist masters and even in the Hebrew and Islamic backgrounds. how that is explained, and in Christianity, of course, Jesus, how that's explained normally is by elevating individuals who've had that experience, at least to some degree. And it's the nature of how we define internal growth. So, in those kinds of, I think I've talked about most of that stuff and I don't want to belabor any of it, but it gives you a bit of an idea of how important that ultimajor, so-called ultimajor, I think it's called that way in some forms of theosophy, not always called that in other forms, not even talked about in some forms at all. I think it's a, I don't know, I think it's more Buddhist background, but it has been called that, I think, in theosophy as well. So, other forms just call it part of the throat complex. I hope that made some sense, Carol. And if not, let me know, and I'll try to talk about whatever part of it that can make better sense. Maybe my words are a little bit different, or how you see it. Let me know. Anyway, now we're going to meditate. We'll meditate probably for 45 to 50 minutes. And I wish you all well. Please take care. Music on for you.
Mahalakshmi Vaishnavi Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Mamba Lalita Devi Ma Saraswati Brahmi Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Mamba Lalita Devi Durga Devi Shankari Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Swarapaye Namo Namaha. अमृतादि महाशक्ति समृद्धाये नमो नमः अमृतादि महाशक्ति समृद्धाये नमो नमः एकातपात्र साम्राज्यदायिकाये नमो नमः
Now we'll just begin to do the balancing and grounding. And I wish everybody a good evening. Take care. And we have a seminar this weekend, so tune in if you'd like to the meditations. And please enjoy yourself. Bye now.